Hey everybody, welcome to Cut, Transform, Glue. As you saw in the title of this video, this one is about the thrusters of the Sniper Spaceship. I will show you guys in great detail how I built this piece that to me was the most fun of the whole build so far. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So this is where we stopped in the last video. I've used this black round thing right here just to give myself some weight to think about the size that I wanted for the thrusters array in the back of the ship. So I'll begin by giving it some sanding both on the front and on the back. I want to make it as flat as possible so that I have a nice shape to start with. And before I begin adding pieces to this, let me just explain what I have in mind. So I have these metal rings right here in my collection for quite some time. I've taken these out of... You know what? Can you guys guess where those came from? Leave me a comment and I'll answer you. But anyways, I want to keep the finishing of those metal pieces. I don't want to paint over it. So I want to create an engine array that can like keep those pieces as they are. But that's for later on the project. For now, I want to work on this surface right here. So obviously the flat face of that piece is not that beautiful. So on Fusion 360 I've modeled this piece right here, which I 3D printed, and now I'll glue that to the back of that round piece. And the idea here is to make the back of the engines like a nice shape, because those pieces will be very visible on the finished model, so I want it to look cool. But anyways, once it was printed, I just added some laser cut MDF to the middle of it, because it's actually way easier to add some plastic or MDF to the pieces instead of printing like big surfaces. And I'm gluing it with CA glue and adding some baking soda to make it stronger. And this is kind of how I'm working these days. I'm printing most of the complex stuff on my 3D printer, but for the big surfaces I'm using styrene and MDF because it's actually way quicker. And that piece was glued to the back of the black piece with some CA glue. And now the back of the engine thrusters array, I have a nice shape that will be visible from the front of the ship. I just want to make sure that I keep the middle hole empty, because I'll put a bolt that will connect the engines to the back of the ship. And as you can see, the sides of this piece already look good, so I won't need to add too much to it. Now I'll move on to the insides of the engine array. As I want this thing to have an array of turbines or rocket engines, I don't know how to call it, I want to give the back of the engine thrusters some detail. So on Fusion 360 I've modeled this piece right here, which was also 3D printed, and on that piece I'll put some brass inserts so that I can like make a nice backdrop to the engines. Now it might be confusing, but the idea here is to kind of work on layers. I want the back of the black piece to be really detailed, and on the top of those pieces I'll go adding some extra stuff to then attach the engines and make a nice looking thing. Okay, so now this thing is glued to the black piece with some CA glue, and I'll add some ridges also on the inside of the engine array. And this, by the way, is just some strips of styrene, and I'll glue it with some CA glue to the inside. And I'll glue one on the bottom and one on the opposite side on the top, and then one side and then the other side, making 4 ridges. And then finding the middle of each one, I'll make it 8 ridges. Once the CA glue sets, I just cut the excess and repeat the process. And these right here are the 8 ridges glued on the inside. And the real magic starts to happen once you put the first coat of primer. As you can see, the ridges on the inside, they make a real difference on the look of the thing. And I've also used I've also put some details on the outside as well. And now with that, I moved on back to Fusion 360 and I've modeled this piece right here. So this is kind of the second layer, as I was talking before. And onto that piece, the 4 thrusters will be attached to. So that piece was also 3D printed, the end result looks good, and I'll add some brass inserts to that as well. Those brass inserts are crucial because I'll use them to attach the thrusters. And the good thing about keeping everything separated is that the painting process will be much easier. And I know that I said that I have like 4 attachment points for the thrusters, but I have also one in the middle. I have actually 5. And this is how I'm going to make the thrusters. Those tiny caps are like the drinking tip of some beverage, and I printed these pieces right here. They were also 3D modeled on Fusion 360, and they will create a distance and an attachment point from the drinking tip to the metal rings. And as you can see, I decided to change the metal rings for these steel ones. I believe the first ones were like aluminum or something like that. And yeah, I'll use those 3D printed and I'll connect everything together just like this. The drinking tip to the 3D printed would be glued because I want to paint over those, but the metal ring won't be glued because I want to keep its original finishing. And to attach each thrusters to the middle piece, I've made a 3D printed piece that would fit a bolt on the inside, and those were glued to the middle of the drinking tip with some CA glue and baking soda. And I can easily screw each thruster to the middle piece with that bolt to the brass insert. I'm super excited about the usage of those brass inserts and the 3D printing. With those I'm being able to create some complex shapes, and I can like assemble them together with some complexity and keep everything like nice and secure. It's really changing how I work. And in my collection of Creables, I found this ring right here, this big aluminum ring, and I'll fit that right in the middle. And the thing is kind of looking good already. I just have to start adding some details to it. Okay, so now let's move on to the detailing phase. So I've changed things around here, and now keep like most of my laser cut MDF pieces on those organized drawers. And for now I'm gonna use these ones right here. Those will give me the opportunity to kind of put some wires through. So I'll start by gluing that to the bottom of the engine array, and as I said before, I'm kind of working on layers. I just have to make sure that I don't reach the height of the second layers, which is this piece right here, which holds the 4 thrusters. So yeah, I'll just glue them freely to the bottom, and I'll also look for some nice tiny plastic pieces to also glue in the bottom and kind of populate the bottom piece and make it look interesting. And I know this may sound counterintuitive, but the idea here is to make it look like overpopulated, because each piece has its own color, but once you add the final coat of primer, I think that everything will come together. So my goal right here is to overpopulate the bottom piece, putting as much as detail as I can. And I'm also not working with symmetry in mind. I'm putting everything that I feel looks cool. I'm not worrying too much. I still felt that the sides of the thrusters array was still empty, so I decided to model some pieces, some extra pieces, and glue them in between each of the ridges. and the thing is starting to look good. I feel like I'm reaching the amount of detail that I want. Now I'm gonna move on to a very hard process, which is adding the wires. So this is where I'm thankful that I decided to go with layers, because of that I'm able to reach really the bottom of the piece and add as much detail as possible. And to attach those wires, I've made some holes on the bottom piece so that I can like glue it with some CA glue. And yeah, right now I'm just really kind of sewing some wires to the bottom of it, just to make it look complex and interesting. And here I feel like I have a decent amount of wires on the bottom. Of course add more, but later on the process with some other types of wire. But for now I'm pretty happy with it. Now for the sides, I still felt that I needed some more details, so I've printed those tiny pieces, those A letter looking pieces, really thin 1mm pieces, and I'm gluing it with some CA glue to the sides. And you guys will see that once I put the final coat of primer, most of the detail will kind of blend with the background, and it won't look overpopulated at all. But so far I'm super happy with it. I'll put just the final coat of primer onto it. And as you can see, this is what I was talking about. Once you put the final coat of primer, kind of the details, they kind of go together and it doesn't look overpopulated at all. I actually feel that I want to put more things to it later on the process. But I feel like I'm reaching like the end of this part of the spaceship. I feel like the engines array look good, and now I'll just add some finishing touches like a ring on the outside, which was also 3D printed and glued with some CA glue, just to kind of close the model and kind of hide the shape of that black piece that I started with. But then I found in my collection of Griblies this piece right here, and it really looks like a thruster, so I'm keeping it right here in the middle. And I've printed in blue right here this tiny ring so that I can fit, just like the other thrusters, I can fit like a metal ring and keep it on the original finishing. Yeah, I have now 5 thrusters in total, and this is the end result. And then I've primed each piece except the metal rings, and yeah, this is the end result. I'm super happy with it. I feel like this is, if not the most, one of the most beautiful pieces of the whole Sniper Spaceship build. As you can see, the bottom piece with all its details make for a great backdrop for the thrusters. And then I just have to screw it to the back of the spaceship, and it is nice and secure there. But yeah, this is it for this video, guys. And if you watched this far, thank you so much for that. It really helps my channel. And if you want to go one step further on helping my channel, I have a Patreon account. So the link to that is on my description box. Right there you can donate me some money, kind of monthly, and this really helps me on the journey of this channel. But yeah, this is it for now. Hit the like button if you like the video and leave me a comment and we can chat right there. But as always, thanks for watching.